Ladies and gentlemen of Australia, indeed, ladies and gentlemen of the world, it's your old mate Dan the Poet here, and I've got some new and very interesting news for you. I wish to inform you that I am not only a poet, but I am also the Crown's witness, and that on the 10th of August 1999, I appeared before the full bench of the Federal Court of Australia on behalf of the people of Australia in relation to our civil rights breaches and the breach of our constitutional rights. I informed the Federal Court that the state of Victoria had breached mine and every Australian's civil rights. I also informed the full bench of the Federal Court of Australia that this indeed was the case. I further wish to inform the people of Australia and the people of the world that when I came to exercise my right of appeal and access the Australian Constitution, I was subsequently rejected, told that I could not do so, and arrested in my lounge room and illegally detained against my wishes and thrown into the P Block psychiatric ward in Monash in Melbourne, Australia. After some time, I was released, and I attempted to tell everybody in Australia what I have just told you. On each and every occasion that I spoke up and tried to make this information public, I was detained again and further detained in P Block. They have detained me no less than 5 times. I like to inform the people of the world that I attended the Brighton Community Hospital for a hernia operation shortly after I had appeared before the full bench of the Federal Court. I would further like to inform the people of Australia and the people of the world that when I called for a taxi, a Texan driving a yellow cab picked me up. During the trip back to my humble abode, the taxi driver, the Texan that is, quizzed me about what I thought about John Winston Howard, to which I replied I thought he was a prick. The reason I did so is because he lied to the Australian people and promised them that there would be no GST. Of course, we all know that is not true. I further informed the Texan that the state of Victoria was implicit in the HIH collapse and that I wished to attend the Royal Commission and give evidence on behalf of the people of Australia. I went to the police and asked them to assist me. They told me, with all due respect, to F off, that it was nothing to do with them. Shortly after, John Howard held 2 royal commissions into the HIH collapse. As only the Prime Minister of Australia can set the guidelines, John Howard set the guidelines into an investigation into the commercial building industry. I must inform the people of Australia and the people of the world that the commercial building industry had nothing to do with it and that indeed it was the domestic building industry, and HIH stands for Housing Industry House. I can only conclude that the government did so as to assist John Howard retain the prime ministership of our country and not get him involved in a constitutional conflict, which unfortunately has eventuated. I further wish to inform the people of the world that the British government, the American government, and the Australian government under John Howard perverted the course of justice and breached the Federal Constitution of Australia. People of Australia, it took me 8 years without any money and a plethora of legal argument to access the full bench of the Federal Court of Australia. Effectively, that makes me the Crown's witness on behalf of the people of Australia. I would like to inform the people of the world and the people of my country that I was born in Britain and that I still retain British citizenship by way of a British passport. I would further like to inform you that since I am 66 years of age and I have been here for 60 years, that I have dual nationality. This means that if an Englishman cannot access the Australian Constitution, of which the Queen is head of state, and an Australian can't access our own Constitution when the Queen is our head of state, then what hope has any other nationality in our country got? The only reason I can conclude is that the Americans and the British have a vested interest in Australia remaining in the Commonwealth. When foreign powers interfere with the independence of our democracy and undermine and infiltrate our justice system and effectively place a suppression order on me, suppressing my rights of redress and my rights to freedom of speech, then not only do I have a problem, but the entire country has a problem. Because if the Crown's witness can't access the Constitution, and the Constitution states that all our rights are equal, then from that day, the 10th of August 1999, every Australian lost their rights of redress. Every Australian lost their constitutional rights. I was undertaking a constitutional challenge on behalf of the people of Australia to prove beyond all reasonable doubt that our Constitution is a conflict of interests. It can be argued that what is in the best interests of the British isn't necessarily in the best interests of Australians, and what is in the best interests of the Americans isn't necessarily in the best interests of Australians. I accuse the British and American governments of interfering in our democracy and perverting the course of justice and preventing us from accessing our own Constitution. I accuse the Prime Ministers John Howard of lying to the people when he said there would be no GST, and the later Prime Minister Julia Gillard of the same thing when she informed the people of Australia that there would be no carbon tax. Lying to the people of Australia is not in the best interest of Australia. And the British and Americans covering up the appearance of the Crown's witness before the full bench of the Federal Court of Australia whilst attempting to undertake a constitutional challenge is most definitely not in Australia's best interests or the world's best interests. I have made this statement today to inform you that we are now in 2014, and I have done so today because today is Australia Day. And I am doing today what I consider to be in the best interests of Australians. People of the world, speak up, stand up, be counted, be strong, and fight for our rights, of which we have none. We don't even have common law rights under the Crown. We have lost our rights of redress that are protected under the Constitution. And the Americans, our government, and the British have perverted the course of justice and suppressed the truth by denying this information to the people of Australia and the people of the world. I am going to recite a piece of poetry for you now pertaining to what I have just told you. It is a very patriotic piece of poetry, and its title is Southern Cross Blue. So here we go. For his God and his country he calls unto you, and he's wrapped in the banner of the Southern Cross Blue. Through the lies and the bulldust, the crime and the shame, to cast out what's unjust, our justice to claim. They're convicts and ratbags. They've taken the stand for freedom and justice in our down under land. They're convicts and ratbags, and the law they all know. They all have convictions, their convictions they'd show. Just hard graft they'd savour, and that's what they'll do. But their rights they won't waver, and their singlets true blue. They're builders and tradesmen, they said they all knew. Not a lot were self-made men, to the law paid their due. The lawyers had wronged them, and they said that they knew that the lawyers three-pronged them when their rights they withdrew. The grief and disruption when corruption's the claim in the name of destruction of the lies in their name. For their God and their country, they said it was true, and their banners they raised them in the Southern Cross Blue. For their right to a fair go, they all took the stand. Then they called for a go slow and their justice demand. The unions had no doubt and called all out to rise, and the truth it just stands out in the Southern Cross skies. I hope you liked it, ladies and gentlemen. I did my very best. Please help me, help you, help our country.